Good morning, or rather it's good afternoon here. So the last round has been played and I got absolutely cooked today. The last 3 days the sun's been threatening to come out and coming out on occasion. And of course what it does then is it brings all the moisture out of the ground. The humidity goes through the roof. My last set of golf clothes is soaked, as you obviously saw in that lock palm video. Now all my horrible clothing goes into my golf flight bag. The rest of it is nicely laundered and very cheaply. So it's nice to go home with the vast majority of your clothes clean and smelling nice, whereas my golf bag there with my shoes in and my last lot of clothing does not smell nice. Now at Lock Palm and Red Mountain they give you a 300 baht voucher, and today's shirt off the discount rail, it's a bit on the bright side, but then I get my liking for colours off my maternal grandfather, so this suits me just fine. This was 500, less the 300, meaning this shirt cost 200 baht. The other thing worth buying out here is one of these things. I'm not going to get it out because it was the devil's job to fold it up, but it's basically a golf bag condom. So this goes over the entire bag, and when it rains your gear doesn't get wet. This cost me 500 baht. It's got many access points so you can get to your clubs easily, you can get to your balls, whatever it is that you need. One of the most important things you need out here on any golf holiday, no matter where you go, is a proper flight bag. This is pretty stiff in the back at the lower half, and in the top here there is a hell of a lot of cushioning and padding. So if I open it up, and I know this is probably dull and boring, but you'll see that in the top here, wrapping around your golf clubs, is some serious padding. Now over the years I've seen golf bags simply rotating on the carousel as is without being in a proper flight bag, and I've seen a number of broken clubs. I remember a guy out here, I think it was the last trip or maybe the trip before, and he's unzipped the head cover off his bag and he's pulled out the driver and he's pulled off the head cover of the driver and he's left with a broken shaft in his hand. When you think that drivers can cost £500 these days, it's a bit silly to go on holiday without a flight bag. In fact, this was a Japanese gentleman and it was a Honma, and it was one of those, not the gold one, it was one of the iridescent head covers, heads with the iridescent driver shaft that I know can cost anywhere up to £3,000 just for the driver, and he had it in 2 parts. There was also a Muppet on YouTube. He went to Portugal for a weekend of golf, and he'd done the same thing. He'd just thrown his golf bag. And when you think of what the baggage handlers do with baggage, why would you trust your gear? So anyway, he comes to his first round of golf, first tee, pulls the head cover off, and he's left with a golf shaft in his hand. Not that he would care, because he was sponsored, so he just got a new driver. But for that weekend he didn't have a driver because it was busted. So do yourself a favour, if you're planning on golf holidays, get a proper travel bag. So the last round, I haven't looked at the clips and I haven't looked at the scorecard, but it felt like an under par round. It felt like a 69 or a 70, I'm not sure which yet. But they hadn't cut the greens. And I don't know if it's going to show it on film, but all those sort of like uphill into the grain putts, when I putted, I could see the ball hopping and losing speed. And that's why the faster greens are always easier, because alright, the downhill down grain, it's difficult to stop the ball by the hole, granted. When you're going into the grain, the ball rolls smoothly. When the green is slow, it's hopping. And that's what makes golf difficult out here at times. Now, would I recommend a golf holiday to Phuket? You and 3 guys come out here, stay in a reasonable hotel that's clean and secure, and play, say, 8 rounds of golf in 2 weeks. You know, the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday kind of routine. Yes and no. The reason I say no is traffic. The traffic here on Phuket is miserable. Hang on a second. Sorry, after today I just got to keep hydrating, to keep getting my levels of hydration up. And you get as much free bottled water as you like in this hotel. I could drink 8 pints of this if I wanted. I think if you were coming for 2 weeks, you could certainly, from what you've seen all 9 courses, the 7 courses on the island and the 2 courses up country. I think you could pick 8 rounds of golf here. But the traffic can be miserable. Especially if you've got a late tea time and you're coming back at, say, 6 in the evening, just as the sun is setting. The traffic into Patong is disgusting. The other issue is, if you here, the green speed changes from golf course to golf course to golf course. If you were to go to Pattaya and you were to play all the good courses, so Chi Chan, the 4 Siam courses, that makes 5, Lam Shabang, Burapha, Bang Pakong Riverside, Phoenix, Eastern Star, Green Valley, what you'd find is the green speed would be slightly different, but not much. Here, the green speed between, say, Mission Hills, Katatong, Phuket Country Club, and then the Red Mountain and the Laguna and the Blue Canyon. The green speed difference is massive. So if you're chopping and changing courses, it is so difficult to adjust to the different green speed. If I was going to play 8 rounds here, I'd go to Katatong, I'd go to Aquella, I'd go to Mission Hills simply because I enjoy that course and the views at the end of the course, and it's fairly flat. Lock Palm, short, fun, lot of water. Red Mountain, very pretty, bit tight in places. Laguna's probably the fairest golf course, but it is incredibly expensive. Blue Canyon Lakes, I still think is better than the tournament course, I really do. There's some holes on that tournament course that not even I can figure out how to play. I would probably avoid the Canyon course if I was ever coming back here. But without doubt, if you went to Pattaya, alright, it's a city, it's not a very pleasant city. You can stay on the outskirts, you don't have to stay in the middle of the city like I do. I stay in the middle of the city because it's nearest to the shopping and the restaurants and stuff. But you can stay on the outskirts where it's quieter, and you've got 24 golf courses to choose from, and if you stick to the list that I've just given you, you'll do fine. This, like last week's of golf, has been pretty good, all things considered. Last weekend we had a group of tourists come in my corridor, on my floor, so some in that direction, some in that direction. The corridor's out there, so some the other side of the corridor. And they come in at 1 AM, 2 AM, 3 AM, 4 AM. They're shouting, they're slamming the doors, they're opening the doors, they're shouting, they're going across the corridor, they're banging on doors, they're shouting, they're opening doors, they're slamming. And this can go on as they're coming in back from the bars in dribs and drabs. This could go on from 1, 2, 3, 4 AM. And so this last week I've been sleep deprived as well as getting a bit hot. So the scores are quite remarkable. But I think this particular nationality, I won't mention them, Russians, they are the worst tourists in the world. They have no consideration for anybody else, especially when they're drunk. And if I'd known that this was a hotel that was frequented by Russians, I simply would not have booked. I would not have stayed in this hotel. I'd rather have stayed in a grotty place with cockroaches on the floor than stay in a hotel with Russians. They just simply are the worst tourists on the planet. Right, I got to pack, go to bed very early tonight. I'm up at 5 AM. From the time my head comes off that pillow to hitting my own pillow at home will be about 25 hours. I don't unpack when I get home. I just simply drag the bags in, I go hit the shower, get nice and clean as you do, I go to bed. About 10 minutes later I get out of bed and I get dressed because it's going to be damn cold, and then I get back into bed. And then I've got Sunday to recover, and then Monday I'm back at work. Sorry about the video at Red Mountain where I forgot my tripod. How do you forget your tripod? All I could do was sort of like rest the camera on the floor and hope for the best. But I figured out if I could just point the camera down the holes, I might be able to describe the holes how I'd like to play them, and then obviously how I did play them. I can't remember what I scored. I haven't edited it yet. But it wasn't bad for Red Mountain, you know. I made some bogeys that I probably shouldn't have done. I probably made some pars that I shouldn't have done. That's the way it goes. But thank you for watching all of these. I may do some compilation videos. I'd like to talk about the caddies, how a caddy can make your day or break your day. Talking of which, might as well add it on this video. After the Blue Canyon round, I was talking with 3 guys from India in the bar, and the one guy was saying I had a brand new caddy today, and the other one was saying, oh, I had a brand new caddy today, she couldn't help me at all. And I said, well, I had a brand new caddy as well. What seems to have happened here is when COVID shut the place, no tourists, no golfers, the caddies basically went back home to Isan, and a lot of them didn't come back. And there's a lot of new caddies. And when you can't read grain like me, well, then your score is going to suffer a little bit. But I'd say for my last tour, and this is my last tour, I've had a bloody good tour. 15 rounds of golf, some good scores, looking at all the trees, the plants, the flowers, the butterflies, the birds, the lizards. Didn't see any snakes this time. It's been fun. I wonder when this video will go out. Beginning of April probably. And today is about the 6th of December, so cheerio. I'll see you back in the frozen north. Ta-ra.